Ladies and gentlemen, the title does not deceive you. We are doing 20 sports cars for less than $10,000. My name is Mark Roden, and recently you guys have subscribed to the channel with over at least 20,000 different accounts, and it blows my mind. Now, I wanted to get this video out a lot earlier, but I couldn't, and so now it looks like I'm late, but I promise it's just because you guys blew up the channel in like 1 month, and it's gone from like 20,000 to like 23,000 in less than a month. And so don't hate me. I wanted to do it for the 20,000 subscriber like celebration, but here it is now. Thank you guys so much for 20,000 subscribers. It means the world to me. If we get to 30,000 subscribers, I'll do a top 30. Next week, we're going to be doing the top 20 sports cars under 5K. So that's kind of like the whole premise behind this thing, is that like, okay, we'll give you guys one for 10K and then one for 5K for the less fortunate and for the more fortunate. And you guys can just go with whatever you want. Obviously, if you have $10,000 and you want to buy one of the ones that are under $5,000, so you can still do that. So stay tuned for next week, though, and we'll be going over 20 more for under $5,000. Anyways, guys, without further ado, let's get right into the very long, probably, video. All right, so starting off this very long list is going to be the second generation Cadillac Escalade. What? Yeah, I know. It's a car that's obviously for a very specific set of people. You probably don't even gonna call it a car because, well, it kind of isn't. And it comes with a 5.3, my bad, liter V8, making 285 horsepower, and it is 4x4, of course, since it's some huge SUV that needs all the wheels in order to go anywhere, probably. But of course, like I said, this isn't really for everybody. They aren't very fast cars, obviously, and they're definitely not like a sports car that you're going to be taking around the twisties in. But it could go literally anywhere, and it does it incredibly comfortable too. It's like, you guys probably know about the Chevy Tahoe. Well, the Cadillac Escalade is pretty much a Chevy Tahoe, but more comfortable. So if you like the Tahoes, which I think everybody likes the Tahoes, but you want a little bit more comfort in your life, get the Escalade. Second gen is so cool too. Next up is the complete opposite of the absolute tank that we just talked about. It's the freaking Subaru BRZ first generation. It's kind of weird that I have to say first generation now because there's two of them. This car is commonly called like the new Miata due to how amazing it is at handling and how underpowered the car is. It comes with a 2-liter flat 4 that makes only 200 horsepower exactly, and it was rear-wheel drive as well, which is cool because Subaru doesn't usually make rear-wheel drive cars. It's always all-wheel drive. So it's cool to see that they were like, hey, let's try out this whole rear-wheel drive mumbo-jumbo. It is by far one of the most influential sports cars of the 2010s. And just like a Miata, it can literally do it all. It's got a pretty big enough engine bay, too, to swap a motor in if you ever do get bored of the power, which you probably will. But even if you don't, you can still take it around the twisties and have a blast with it. But the reason why it's number 19 is because it's going to be very hard to find a BRZ under $10,000. They're still just right above that point. You can get very lucky and find one under 10K, but it's kind of hard. But let's just say that you want some straight line speed in your life, and you don't really care about the whole cornering aspect of cars. Well, then go with the Ford Mustang GT S197. It's a very good car, but a horrible car for a new driver. I know, it's kind of weird, but that's why all those, like, you know, those crowd killer memes, and they're like, oh, watch out, the Mustang's doing a burnout, run away. Well, that's because it comes with a 4.6 liter V8 that makes 315 horsepower to the rear wheels, which is a very bad combination for a new driver. The new drivers don't know how to handle that stuff. It's got way too much power in a very heavy car that cannot corner that well, and it's rear-wheel drive, so it likes to kick out. It's an amazing car, don't get me wrong, it's great, especially for somebody that like wants to go drifting. They're actually really good drift cars, but they're just not that great for like a new high school kid that's like about to get their first car. But it is time to take a trip over to the wonderful land of Germany for the first time and talk about an underrated ass car. It's a freaking Volkswagen Golf VR6 Mark III. It comes with a 2.8 liter V6 or VR6 that makes a pretty damn decent 172 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive as well, and because it's a Volkswagen. And in case you don't know, this engine was just absolutely amazing for tuning. It is great at tuning. It just tends to make some insane power with very simple upgrades, which is always just a great thing. You know, you can't complain about that. They also look great. I think the third gen like Volkswagen Golfs, in my opinion, is hands down one of the best looking generations ever. And if you're lucky, you could maybe even find these under $5,000 as well, so it's even better. But the problem with a VR6 under 5K is going to be it's going to need a lot of work, so I would just recommend saving your money if you're looking for a VR6. But yeah, it's an amazing car. I love it. It looks great. It handles great. It has insane potential. Staying in Germany, but we're going to go a completely different route than the Volkswagen. It is the Mercedes SL600. Yes, this car does exist, and it is just so cool. Stop sleeping on it, okay? It's not a couch. Stop. It comes with an incredible 6-liter V12 That makes it an insane 394 horsepower going to the rear wheels. Now, I want to make it incredibly crystal clear that these cars kind of confuse me, and I can never tell if the one that I'm looking at is the 600 or not. But it seems to be that the 600 is under $10,000, but it's going to be a crappy one. That's what I can kind of tell. I could be wrong, so if anybody knows about the whole Mercedes SL line and I got this wrong and the picture I'm using is the wrong picture, please just let me know in the comments below, because there's a good chance I could be wrong. But they are one of the best looking Mercedes ever made, in my opinion, and no matter what the price, I still think it's worth it. It's just so good. It's got a 6-liter V12, dude, with 400 horsepower, and it looks great. Next is a car that only the true OGs of this channel know how much I truly love. It is the freaking Hyundai Genesis Coupe, baby. This underrated future legend, it's going to be a freaking legend. Just trust me, boys. Comes with a 3.8 liter V6 making 348 horsepower, and it was rear wheel drive. And you may be asking yourself, why is this car so low, especially such a good drift car? It's got 350 horsepower. It's modern. It looks great. Why isn't it in like the number 3 spot? Well, the answer is because apparently the engines aren't that great for tuning. They don't like to take power without blowing up, and that can absolutely suck. All right, you don't even need any more power. It does already have 348 horsepower, but a lot of people do like to bump that up, and it is a bit of a heavier car, so it might not, you know, be as quick as you want it to be. And unfortunately, if you want to make it quicker, it's just not the platform to do it on. What if you live in like the freaking Himalayas and you need something that can go over mountains? Well, look no further than the Ford F-250 SuperDuty. Yes, that is the actual name of this car. It comes with a pretty huge 6-liter turbo diesel V8 that makes 385 horsepower, and it was 4x4, obviously, because this is a working man's truck. And to be honest, it just kind of seems like such a convenient vehicle to own. It just seems like you can do whatever you want to do. You can go wherever you want to go. You can tow whatever you need to tow. You can crash into whatever you need to crash into, and you'll still be fine. They also can look pretty sick. I'm not even a truck guy, okay? I'm not a huge, you know, truck enthusiast here, but sometimes I see some of these 6.0 Ford F-250s, and I'm like, they don't look that bad. They don't look that bad. Now, obviously, you're not going to turn this into like a race car. It's not that fast, but it's a fun little car that you can go anywhere with. Holy smackaroni and cheese, we're back in Japan, and I don't know how that happened, but maybe it's because the underrated Honda Civic SI 8th generation is over there, all right? This is probably the most reliable car on this list, and it's still fun when you want it to be. It comes with a 2-liter inline-4 that makes 197 horsepower, and it was front-wheel drive, and it is by no means the fastest car on this list. It's not even one of the fastest cars on this list, but it just does everything pretty damn good. All right, you can drive it year round. You don't have to worry about repairs because they're dirt cheap. Everything about the car is dirt cheap, and you can modify it to be fast if you want to, all while still being incredibly reliable, incredibly cheap, incredibly good looking, if you ask me. It's just a best of like all worlds. It's just the ultimate package. Next is one of the coolest hatchbacks ever built and is somehow already under $10,000. It is the Ford Focus ST. I'm not gonna lie, I usually don't like Fords and I usually do not like hatchbacks, but I gotta say they make some freaking pretty cool compact cars, Ford. Like, you know the whole like Escort line? Holy smokes, Ford Escorts are sick. Anyways, the Focus ST though comes with a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4 that makes 252 horsepower, and it was front-wheel drive too. And it's kind of like the Civic in a way, where it's just an incredible like daily/tuner car, but this one has more space, so I put it one more spot higher. It's also more modern than the 8th gen Civic Si. I don't know if it looks better. I kind of think they look relatively similar, like in terms of like how much I like them. I don't know which one I'd choose. Just please don't think that you're like Ken Block if you do own one of these, because that's how crashes happen, people. But next up is an incredibly underrated car from BMW, believe it or not. It is the 135i. The 135i to me is kind of like what the M2 is now, but back then. And for some reason, nobody liked these ones, but everybody likes the M2. Doesn't really make any sense. Anyways, it comes with a 3-liter twin turbocharged inline-6 that makes 300 horsepower exactly, and it was rear-wheel drive. And I will say, one very big downside to this car right off the bat is that it's a little bit overpriced. And to be honest, they're pretty unreliable too, since they did come with that N54. In case you don't know, the N54 is a motor that's almost always going to need work. And it's just like you can find these for right under $10,000, and it just doesn't really doesn't really make it worth the price in my opinion. But on the other hand, it is amazing at building power, and it looks very cool and unique, especially for like nowadays. Nobody modifies these 135i's. So pick your poison. If you like that car and you want to just go fast and straight line, and it's a great choice. But if you're looking for like a daily driver, I think there's a lot of better options. All right, from one underrated German legend straight to another, the Volkswagen Corrado, my good sir. This car also comes with a VR6, just like the Mark III Golf that we talked about earlier. To refresh your memory, that is a 2.8 liter V6 or VR6, making 172 horsepower to the front wheels, of course. So you may be asking yourself why I put this one so much higher than the Mark III, and to be honest with you, man, I have no idea. I kind of just like the Corrado a little bit better, so I put it higher. I think the Corrado looks really cool, but it is pretty much up to you when looking at these two cars. If you're thinking about going with a Mark III Golf or a Corrado, it's up to you. If you like the looks of the Mark III Golf better, or you like the looks of the Corrado better, go with that. I will say one like selling point on the Corrado is that it does have a bigger engine bay, so it's going to be a little bit easier to work on than the Mark III Golf, but that's kind of a small thing. They're both great tuner cars. They both have a very amazing engine, and they both look very good, so pick your poison. Number 9 is actually not even a car at all, but a whole series of vehicles. We're talking about street bikes. Whether you buy a 600cc or a 1000cc, either one is a good choice. However, I will say right off the bat, these these vehicles are no joke. If you decide that you want to pick up a street bike, please, for the love of God, be careful, wear protective gear, ride within your comfort zone, and just don't be an idiot. All right, if you're thinking of getting this as your first vehicle, don't. A sports bike, I'm only recommending to somebody who would like to go fast for cheap. The motorcycles do that the best easily. You can buy like a Yamaha R1 for like $6,000, which can reach like 180 miles per hour, and I can't think of any other car that could do that for that price. But for the love of God, I'm not recommending this to the people that have no experience behind the wheel of anything. If you're gonna buy a street bike, at least know how to ride a dirt bike beforehand, and be smart. Next up is easily one of my favorite hatchbacks ever built. Definitely my favorite hatchback under $10,000. It is the MazdaSpeed 3. I still don't know why they haven't made a MazdaSpeed 3 like follow-up car. It just makes me so mad. Like, they can make a second gen or third gen, I guess, MazdaSpeed 3, and it would look so cool. But anyways, it came with a 2.3 liter twin or turbocharged inline 4, making 263 horsepower, and it is just such an amazing tuner car that absolutely nobody talks about for some reason. Now, I would be lying to say that I'm not biased, because I definitely like the looks of this car the best out of most hatchbacks. I think it looks just incredibly aggressive, but it also is truly one of the best in terms of tuning potential too, and hatchbacks are kind of like the staple of tuning. You know, everybody that buys a hatchback wants to get into tuning, and I think if the MazdaSpeed 3 does it the best, and it's one of the best. Plus, they only came with a manual, which is awesome. It's like a true driver's car. All right, I think this is number 7, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it is the Lexus SC300, and it is one of the best drift cars in the world, bro. They're just so gosh darn cool. I don't care what you have to say about that. They go stupidly hard. They go dummy hard. It comes with a 3 liter inline 6 that makes 225 horsepower, and it was rear wheel drive, and that engine is actually the naturally aspirated motor that came in the Mark IV Supra, the 2JZ. Okay, it's a freaking great motor. Now, it isn't nearly as good as the 2JZ GTE, but it's still a good motor nonetheless. And this car was like a freaking Mercedes S-Class when it debuted in the 90s. The car went for like $80,000, bro, and you can pick one up now for under $10,000. That's a steal. That's a steal of a deal. It's comfortable as hell. It's got a great motor in it. It looks amazing. It can drift. It's a coupe. Pick it up. Next up is another Japanese living legend, but a little bit more practical. The frackin' Infiniti G37 Coupe. All right, it comes with a 3.7 liter V6 that makes 330 horsepower, and it was all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. And that motor, in case you don't know, is the same motor that came in the Nissan 370Zs, but for much cheaper, because I guess people just like don't like the G37 Coupes that much. The 370D does look a little bit more sporty, but me personally, I love the G37 Coupe, but that's just my opinion. I mean, Infiniti to me is like always the perfect mix of like class and power without sacrificing either one of them, and that's just so cool to me, bro. Like, you literally can just drive comfortably, but then gap somebody if you have to. Now, it is a little bit slower than a 370Z just because it's got a longer wheelbase. It's a little bit heavier, but not by much. So if you want a 370Z but you don't want to spend 370Z money, buy a G37 Coupe. We are in the top 5, my son, and what better way to start than with the Acura RSX Type S. I think this has got to be not only my favorite Honda, but also one of my favorite front-wheel drive cars of all time. It comes with a 2.4 liter inline-4, making 201 horsepower, and that motor is called the K24, which is an incredibly good motor for tuning. People swap K24 motors into literally everything, and for good reason. They're dirt cheap. They came in a bunch of cars, so you can find them very easily, and they're incredibly easy to build. It's a Honda motor. Every Honda motor in the world is easy to build. Now, the car isn't that cheap anymore since it's just so hyped up, but once you do get it, the rest is just pennies on the dollar, man. Building the actual car is cheap. Buying the RSX Type S is the most expensive part of the whole build, but it's worth it. It looks great. It's a coupe. It's got a freaking K24 in it. What else can you ask for? Number four is a car that honestly kind of hurts me to admit is so good. It is the Subaru WRX Blobeye, one of the best dailies out there as long as you don't turn up the boost. In case you don't know, these Subarus have head gasket issues, and when turning up the boost, it makes it very hard for the head gasket to do its job. The reason that is because the motor is a 2-liter turbocharged flat 4 that makes 225 horsepower, and the car was all-wheel drive. But the problem with these flat motors sometimes is fluid will like to pool up right by the head gaskets, and over time that'll cause them to dry up and crack, which can obviously cause a problem. In case you don't know, a head gasket is not a simple fix. A lot of times people are better off just buying a whole motor than replacing the head gasket. But if you can avoid that issue, then it's an amazing, fun little sports car that's pretty damn good on gas too. And on top of that, this is one of the only sports cars out there that can actually go like off-road comfortably. It was built for that. It is a really good combination, and the Blobeye is just my personal favorite in terms of looks, so that's why I put it here. Third place, bronze medal, is of course the best car ever built. Anybody that drives one is just the manliest of men. It is the Nissan 350Z. Yes, that's right. Freaking President Biden released a statement saying that if you do not drive a 350Z by 2023, you are no longer a registered citizen in the United States. Don't shoot the messenger, guys, all right? I am not the one that came up with that rule. He did. It comes with a 3.5 liter V6 that makes 306 horsepower to the rear wheels, and that's not great for this list, sure, but this car just looks incredible, and it comes with a limited slip differential, which means that you get to rip some fat donuts. Building one of these things is such a blast too. You have millions of aftermarket parts out there. It looks incredibly sporty. One time an old guy thought my 350Z was worth $70,000. Okay, that's how cool they look. It's got 2 seats. It's a true sports car. It's rear-wheel drive. Everything about it is great. Plus, take it from me, building one of these cars is just so much fun. You're gonna love it. But silver medal number 2 is the gosh darn BMW 335i E9X, whatever one you want to get, which is pretty much just a longer version of the BMW 135i that we talked about earlier, but this one is still somewhat affordable and a little bit cheaper than the 135i, so I gave it a spot higher. It comes with the same motor. It's a 3-liter twin turbocharged inline-6 that makes 300 horsepower either to the rear wheels or all wheels. They also look very good. Apparently they don't have blinkers, and if you buy one, you will probably turn into like the cockiest driver on the road and try racing every single GTR and Corvette out there just to get gapped and humiliated. Then you're going to make an angry TikTok about it and act like Japanese cars and Corvettes are overrated. But it's an amazing chime. It truly is. I mean, the freaking N54, great for building power, terrible for daily driving. It's an amazing car. Also, they look great. The BMW 335i E9X, whatever you want to call it, it just looks amazing. It's luxurious. It's got a great motor to build, and it's a BMW. You're driving a BMW. But first place, gold medal, is a car that just literally cannot be matched for its price. There's no competition for it. It is the Chevy Corvette C5. It's the last Corvette to have pop-up headlights and one of my personal favorite Corvettes of all time. I think it looks great. It comes with a huge 5.7 liter V8 that makes 350 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive, and it's incredibly lightweight. It's incredibly aerodynamic. It's an incredibly fast sports car that honestly surprises me it is as cheap as it is. Plus, if you ever somehow do get bored of 350 horsepower, which you probably won't, then that motor is an LS motor, so you can very, very easily build it up to be something amazing. The C5 Corvette can literally do it all. You can drift a C5 Corvette, you can drag race a C5 Corvette, you can track a C5 Corvette, and it'll do it happily. On top of that, it's incredibly reliable. It's an LS. People think that just because it's a sports car, it's unreliable. That's not the case. This LS freaking Corvette is more reliable than half the Hyundai Elantras on the road today, okay, buddy? Like, it's a reliable ass car, and it gets pretty good gas mileage for a V8 too. Everything about it's just great. It's an amazing car. Easily the C5 Corvette is your best bet if you are unsure on what you want. I think it's the best bang for your buck under $10,000. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video. 20 different sports cars for under $10,000. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next week we're going to be doing 20 different sports cars for under $5,000, and if we get to over 30,000 subscribers, then we'll do it for 30 different sports cars for under those price ranges too. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a blast making this. It took a lot of work. But now that I don't have to do a job, I don't care, because I can do it all day, buddy. Woo! I'm super happy. Thank you guys so much. Again, thank you guys so much for all the support I've gotten on this channel. I appreciate it. If you guys want to see any other videos, let me know in the comment section down below. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.